Approaching the summit.
Packing our bags.
For our trip to the summit.
And what does that look like from a communal level?
The global community.
As an individual.
Food, shelter, clothing, community.
What does everyone need to bring to the table?
What do I need to bring?
So that once we get there, we have everything we need.
To summit this mountain of new ideas.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's episode 49 of Truth Be Told, and we couldn't be more excited. We're 3 episodes away from number 52, which is going to be a full year. That's crazy. So what are we going to do to celebrate? We're going to have a summit. It's going to be an awesome week, November 11th to November 8th to 11th. We're going to start on Monday night, have some special speakers and a little bit of Q&A time, and it's all about us moving into the new way of being, creating a new earth for all of us. So that's where we're leading with this month. We're called, Approaching the Summit. And we are talking about all these wonderful teachings, the science of mind that has helped us individually learn how to be more effective in our own lives, to always be reaching towards that higher state of being. And we're really now how do we pull this into our way of being on the planet? What are the new paradigms? What are ways that we can live our highest truth and share it in ways or demonstrate with others around us in our places of work, our places of community and sharing? And really, we're moving into a wonderful time on this planet, but it takes intention and work. So this week we are talking about packing your bags. What do we need to bring? What do we bring into the journey, to the adventure, on an individual, on a communal, and on a global level? That's our question this week. So sit back and enjoy another episode of Truth Be Told, and we shall see.
We are continuing our journey, approaching the summit, and this week we are packing our bag. And what does that mean for us as an individual? How do I pack my bag? How do I prepare? How do I get ready? What are the things that I need to bring on this journey? And so if we are taking this proverbial trek up the mountain to the new summit, what do I need to bring? What is the checklist that I need to mark off to make sure that I'm prepared taking this trek? And later you'll hear what things we as a group need to bring, how we prepare together, how we make sure that everybody has all we need. How do we as a group have everything we need? And so as I pack my bag to begin this journey, to begin our steps forward on actually taking this journey, we are already setting the intention to go this route. We already have planned out the route we're taking. We've looked at the map, and now we are beginning to actually take that first step in preparing. What do I as an individual need to take? And I need to make sure that I have the clothes I need, the tools I need, the tent, the stove, the food, all of those pieces, all of those things that if you get up the mountain, halfway up the mountain and don't have, there is definitely some consequences that come along with that. And some of that are, you're going to be really cold. Some of that might be, you might freeze. So when we take this metaphor and apply it to our actual lives, what does it mean to pack our bag? What does it mean to prepare ourselves to summit this mountain of new ideas, to get a new perspective on life? What does it actually mean? And I think the most important aspect as an individual to prepare your bag for this trip means taking a look at what it is you're bringing with you. What are you carrying? What ideas, what thoughts, what history, what beliefs? What is it that you or me as an individual are carrying along with us on this trip? And to be super intentional, just like we were intentional about beginning this trip and deciding to take this trip, we have to be equally as intentional about what it is we're bringing along the way. So if we're bringing ideas that say making it through this trip is not possible, or we're bringing those old tapes, those old beliefs, those old patterns that say we're not good enough, We're not worthy. We don't have the strength within us to do this. If we're bringing along all of those tapes, those beliefs, those doubts, it's probably not going to happen. That we have to, in this preparation, take a look at our entire inventory of beliefs. And not to say that there aren't going to be beliefs along the way, because believe me, when you're going up the mountain, real quick, those beliefs start to kick in about, why are we doing this? How far is this really? Are we going to make it? Yes, so those beliefs are going to keep coming up. But if you also have a belief that counters those beliefs and says, yes, this is hard, we can still do it. Or I'm not going to listen to old ideas, and this is definitely worth it, and I'm definitely worthy, I'm definitely capable, I'm definitely strong enough, whatever the belief is. Let's make sure we pack the new beliefs, carry along with us the new beliefs that allow us to succeed in this new idea. And so we can't carry along with us old limiting beliefs, old habits, old patterns. This is our time to make sure that we do our own shakedown, shake out all the beliefs that don't need to come with us anymore, and carry only the ones, as much as possible, the ones that are going to help us succeed. The least amount of struggles that we have along the way, the better off we will be, the easier it is to summit this new mountain. Packing our bag this week is all about being willing to look at what it is that we actually believe about ourselves, about this new idea, about even summiting the mountain of a new way of being. Is that possible? Do we believe in that? And are we willing to let go of the beliefs, the stories, and the patterns that no longer serve us on our way up this mountain?
So I was thinking, Dan, it's weird to have you like right here beside of me.
Yeah, we're in the same place, by the way.
Clearly. What's interesting when talk about packing your bags, for me, it's like most of it's unpacking. Because you've ever packed for like a hike or like a backpacking trip, and you pack everything you think you're going to need, and then you pick up the pack and you're like, oh, there ain't no way in hell I'm going to be able to carry that, 15 miles. And so I think that's true. Like when we're looking at these things, like when we're wanting to step into new ideas, step into new ways of being, not only do we look at the things that we need to take with us, the things that serve us, but then we really have to like investigate, what are these things I've been carrying that are way too heavy and that I don't need anymore and that are going to be a hindrance in moving.
Yeah. And all of the toys and the new version of this and but I've never used it, so I'm going to bring the new one and the old one just in case,
right.
Like all that. Right. Yeah. What are all the things we don't need to bring?
How about like pulling your pack out of the closet and then seeing there's still like an old Snickers that's smashed up in there and some dead batteries and all that stuff, that doesn't serve us anymore. Time to pull it out.
Yep.
And I think it's like, as we release those old things, or to continue the metaphor, remove those things, then we have the space to fill it with the things that we actually are going to use, that are actually going to serve us, that are actually serving this kind of intention. And so I think it does when we take a look at, when we try to step into these new ways of experiencing things, we do, it causes us to be very intentional about what we're keeping, what we're not keeping. I mean, I just recently moved, and let me tell you, there is a lot of stuff that I had to let go of because I'm like, I haven't used that in a year. Why do I need that? And so it wasn't until I was actually had it kind of out in front of me and could really be really introspective about it that I could see what served me and what didn't serve me. So I think that's true in all different areas of life, but especially this conversation.
Yeah, I love this comment. I'm going to put it back up for a second. From Chris. Hey, Chris. Clean out the purse. Don't just dump all the crap into the new purse. Actually go through it. Like, yeah, that's literally it. Literally, yeah. And it was fascinating filming this segment because it's so hard to talk about this perspective, like specifically the individual perspective, without going into at least the communal perspective, if not like the global perspective. I mean, the level, the depth of this metaphor is I was gonna say unreal, but it's so real. Like, I don't need to bring all of this stuff if we're all going together, because I guarantee you every other person is like, on my individual checklist, yeah, I have all of this stuff. But once we do our group like shakedown and see, oh, we're all going to try and bring a tent. Like, no, we're going to share like a 2-person tent. We don't each need to bring a 2-person tent. Well, you take the poles and I'll take the rain fly, and like we divvy this stuff up. So it was almost impossible to talk to the full extent of this topic without like blurring that line into this communal perspective. So it was really interesting to see, or how do we actually talk about this? And really the key, I think, from the individual perspective is that idea of, what am I bringing along, metaphorically or literally, the things that are actually going to hinder us from doing well, from going further, from going easier. What are the stories that I'm bringing? What are the limiting beliefs that I'm bringing that, knowing we're also going to look at this from the communal perspective, then are no longer about me, right? And so, like, from the metaphor, like from the perspective of this metaphor, it's like, yeah, I know probably every time that I've gone backpacking, it's like, I want to bring things that are on my list to bring because I want to bring them because I don't get to use them other times. Like, there's like this ego thing involved of like, oh, I want to try out my new gadget or whatever. And in no way does me wanting to do that actually help us do anything, And so to look at how that plays out in the real world version of this, it's like, oh, how does my desires to do the things that help me individually, or that I think are going to benefit me individually because I want to do them, what impact does that have on the whole? And it doesn't necessarily mean not to do those things, but it's to really evaluate, is it worth carrying the extra weight to bring that one thing along when it only helps me? And is it necessary to us doing this? Is it necessary to me doing this? And that's a really different perspective, I think, on life than we're probably used to, that I'm used to, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's move on.
So approaching the summit. And so this week we're talking about packing our bags. And what does that look like from a communal level? So, of course, when we are getting ready to embark on a journey, especially a journey with a group of folks, I don't know if you've ever been on a road trip, where we have to gather the folks and say, all right, what do we need? What does everyone need to bring to the table or pack so that once we get there, we have everything we need? So this is kind of like what we're talking about this month. The summit being this stepping into a new idea, stepping into new ways of being, new ways of seeing the world. And so when we embark on this from a communal level, when we really sit down in these communities, whether it's communities of friends or like-minded people, or if it's spiritual communities, and we've set that intention that we're going to move from this old way and step into some new ways, or these new ideas, or these expanded ways of viewing the world, or expanded ways of showing up in the world, or expanded ways of moving about the world on a daily basis. So as a community, we gather together and say, all right, what do we have? Now, I may have a tool or a strength from one area, and someone else may have a tool or strength from another area, and then another area, and another area. And so when we show up in community, when we show up authentically, when we create this community of love and belonging, then each of us can show up authentically and feel comfortable, feel empowered to bring to the table our strengths, to bring to the table those things that we are passionate about. And so when we collectively gather together, when we collectively, metaphorically pack our bag for this journey of shifting how we move about the world and shifting how we see things and how we begin to move from old ways into new ways, then we are able to see what everyone brings to the table. And so in that collective gathering, we not only are empowered and understand that we are not in this alone, but it gives us a greater clarity of what our vision is. So we've set the intention. We're going to do it differently. We're going to step into something bold and amazing. And so we gather our peeps together and say, all right, how are we going to do this? And so packing our bags from this community perspective really opens our awareness beyond our own self and understanding how we collectively as a group can gather our strengths, can gather those areas of growth maybe, and really work together to facilitate this journey, work together as we pack our bags for this road trip. And so this moving from the individual to the communal understanding, this community, and we know we are born for this community, and we know that this journey cannot be done without community. And so as we pack our bags, we allow other people to show up as they are. We show up as we are. And it's then that we lay all our tools on the table. And then we pack them up and we head for the summit.
Yes.
It's gonna be a good trip.
Yeah. I want to go hiking now.
One thing that came to me there was the idea of, like, you know, the person that decides they're going to pack, you know, like their stereo, they want to bring the tunes for the party, and everybody's like, dude, that's too heavy. Don't bring that. You know, you're not going to be the carrier. I got it. And then you get halfway up and they're like, my pack's too heavy. Can somebody help? And then, you know, we all end up carrying. And, and then the converse of that, though, where Reverend Ryan, where I think you went at the end there, it was really as we work on this together, that we are there to help carry each other during our own difficult parts. When one of us is having that struggle, that maybe is carrying a little too much that they haven't been able to let go. How then, as the community, that we are all able to come together.
When I think the conversations we've had, like, these many months, especially conversations about authenticity, about belonging, about showing up, I think all of these are really integral in this whole concept of really stepping into this new way, this new idea, because there's a certain level of trust, especially when you're doing this on a community level, whether it's in spiritual community or small group or your family of origin or family of choice sort of groups that want to step into new ways of moving about the world. There's a level of trust. And I think that being able to have previously cultivated these communities, cultivated these spaces of belonging, makes this whole journey a little bit easier, and also makes it easier to really tease out the strengths of each individual. If you think about it, just kind of us three in doing what we are doing in the world, that we all have different strengths, but because we show up authentically and we can honor the strength in each one, then we don't always have to have our hands in everything. That you can do the things that bring you passion, the things that you're strong at. I can, Dan can, and then collectively, then we can really step boldly into this conversation of new ideas. And we're talking a lot about new ideas within a spiritual context, but in any context. But it is kind of like living proof of how that works and how this kind of packing and unpacking. But I think that can only exist in the space of authenticity and belonging.
Well, and like you said, I mean, how much does that speak to how much trust we have to have amongst the three of us, or the trust that any group would have to have? And I think to come like full circle with it, like this ties directly into the conversation we had about the last segment about like if any one of us were to be trying to take this journey with like our newest and flashy gear, because like, oh, I want to use this because it's fun, but is it really benefiting us? And Chris, like you were saying, it's the same thing as the boombox. It's like, it's a lot easier to carry someone's extra weight later on when we all went through the list of stuff we're bringing and agreed on it from the beginning, right? If we all agreed on a list and somebody shows up the day of the hike with something extra, especially something like they're trying to hike along with this radio, and later one of us ends up carrying it, there's a lot of like sure, we're going to help each other begrudgingly. but if we have that trust, if like, okay, you're going to bring all this stuff, you're going to bring all this stuff, you're going to bring all this stuff, and we all agree to it, and then we all show up with that stuff we agreed we would show up with, there is this mutual trust that builds. And at some point, I'm not sure if we're talking about the metaphor anymore or not. Like, I mean, that's how clearly this plays out in real life, that if we show up authentically and honestly, and there's a mutual agreement amongst us about how we're going to show up, and we show up that way, it's a lot easier to trust each other, and it's a lot easier for all of us to show up authentically in doing that, right? I mean, we build it's like authenticity builds trust, and trust builds authenticity, and now all of a sudden we literally are moving as a group. We're not a individuals hiking at the same time. We're this group of people hiking together. And that's like a totally different, I think, different perspective to have than most of the time.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool. Cool. So we'll see how this part goes, because, wrong person. Not going well so far. Here we go. Try again. Here we are. All right. Awesome. So yeah, awesome. We have like the most amazing job ever. I know we've said this a billion times, that as the co-founders of the Soul Evolution Collaborative, it is amazing to be able to dedicate our time to the things we love, which just happen to be serving all of you. But providing all of these things, like the things that the world is yearning for, spaces for people to come together spiritually, opportunities for people to dive into topics that we are all at some level yearning to have, and so far have not found a lot of spaces to have them. And so to be able to be part of a group, a ministry, a community that is actively pursuing these conversations, these spaces, and these events, these ways for us to come together, is so fulfilling. And so we would like to regularly extend this invitation to you, that whatever level you are getting involved, to consider whatever that next step is for you. So if you are watching tonight and you watch regularly on Tuesdays, or you watch every now and then on Tuesdays, check out some of the other stuff we got going on. I'm going to pull up one of our banners right here, that there is so much information about what we're doing on our website. Literally everything we do is up there. And so from jumping into the basics of what we're even talking about here, we have some series of videos that talk about just the core principles of what we are even believing in. We have other videos that, if you are looking to dive in a little bit further, go into how to start using these principles in your life. Of course, we have spiritual practices. Unwind Wednesday with Chris is a Wednesday night meditation, which is awesome. We have this video every Tuesday. We have the Gathering Thursday nights, which is an opportunity for us to take our own personal spiritual journeys, our own inward journeys, where we kind of take a look at those things inside of us. And we get to bring that into this communal space where we get to share in the journey, kind of the intersection of our personal relationships with our spiritual relationships. And that is a really amazing opportunity to deepen our own sense of feeling seen, but also take part in seeing others. And so just super opportunities in every direction. And
drum roll.
Yes, drum roll, please, as the whole table shakes. Two things, actually.
Yeah.
There's really two things.
Yeah.
Two things. One, the Oh Shift Now What Summit, as Chris talked about earlier, November 8th through 11th is going to be amazing. Info on that on our website. Going to be amazing speakers. We are literally starting a conversation that everyone around us is trying to have and has not had a place to have it large scale yet. And so that summit is going to be the conversation of how do we actually create intentionally a new way of being in this world? What does that actually look like? So that's going to be amazing. I'm so excited about that. And also, we are going to be launching a large group weekly activity. Let's call it an activity.
That's
a fun word, yeah. A weekly activity. We've been talking about this for a while, and we actually have, we're at the point where we have a plan to unroll this to the world. So that will also be happening in mid-November. So keep an eye out for that as well. That will be Sunday evenings. And so that's going to be super amazing. That's going to be like, if the gathering is the next step from Tuesday videos, this Sunday evening thing is going to be like the next step from all that. So, or step one. I guess it could be step one.
The prequel.
The prequel. Oh, I like that. That's fun. All right. Anyway, enough of this. Let's get back to the thing we're here to do, and that is packing our bags. So back to the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Why is it back there? We did a thing. Hold on. This is interesting. This has never happened before this way. I don't know what happened. Let's try that.
Shenanigans.
Honestly, it's the gnomes, you know, like the ones in your smartphone who type ducking. We're ducking.
I want you to take just a second and imagine a world without war. Imagine a world where everybody's needs are met. Food, shelter, clothing, community. That's where it begins. It begins in imagination. Thank you, John Lennon. One of the best songs ever written, in my humble opinion. So we're talking about packing. Packing for our trip to the summit, to the new way of being, to a new earth. And we're looking at it now from the global community. We've already looked at individually how that plays out, communally, how when we come together, we each bring our own things so that we don't have to carry everything individually, that we bring a cooperated, collaborated thing to the table that we pack and move on with. Now let's look at how that unfolds globally. So I want to use an example from my childhood. When I was young, I was a Boy Scout. And every summer we would go on summer camp, and it's a week-long adventure. And we would have to plan individually and then for our troop to make sure, like, we have all of our food needs met, all of our cooking needs, our camps, our tents, all the different tools that we would need, we would have to plan that out. And then we show up. And this is where the excitement comes in. We show up with troops from all over the place. Some kids were lucky enough to go to world jamborees. So troops would show up literally from all over the world and bring their own unique gifts and talents. And then we would share them. We would have huge campfires at night where troops would come and share songs, share skits and different things. They would share crafts, they would share food. We would share our things that were unique from where we came from in the world. And this was a celebration. So now imagine globally how far we could go if we would drop the idea of innovation through competition. We live right now in a place where we spend so much time defending our resources. We're hoarding things that we have way too much of to begin with, that we would never use in a lifetime. Hoarding and actually killing for these things. Imagine if we took half of the amount of money that we spent globally on defense and put that towards sharing our resources, making the world a better place. Just half. I'm not being completely naive and saying that we have to abandon, all safety. Just half. And then see how maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to where we would lose that need to have to create conflict, to have to defend ourselves, to have to kill. Imagine soldiers being transformed into peace agents, showing up with baskets of food instead of weapons, bombs, and guns. Imagine how far we could go. Now, this idea of innovation through competition has been the norm up to now. What we're seeing now is collaboration, cooperation. There's open source sharing, which is one of the things that really gives me hope about humanity. There is awesome innovations out there, inventions that would, if they were patented, they would have made their creators millions, if not billions of dollars. But these innovative minds saw a greater good in possibility. And so they put this stuff out there for free for people to use. And as they do, then great minds come and use it and improve it. And there's no hoarding. It's not me, it's we. And imagine as we continue to do that, as we come and pack and go on this summit, people show up with their extra resources to share. People show up with their own unique arts and cultures and foods, different ideas, the best minds from communities all over the planet. Collaborate. We could go so much further, so much more quickly, that this world will truly transform into an amazing place to be. So as we think globally, a lot of people get lost in the idea that oneness means sameness, that if we come together as one earth, that we're going to lose the things that make us unique. What we would learn is that it enriches the things that are different between us. It is able to be celebrated instead of feared. And as we do that, we take the best of individuals, the best of communities, and combine it and watch it turn into something so much greater than anything that we're able to imagine now. So it all begins with imagination. What can we do? What will this look like? And just the slightest amount of possibility that this could happen, that this new earth, a new way of being is unfolding, and open up and move towards that. So that's how the global community's sharing can look as we all come and pack for our new way of being on this planet.
I'm in. Let's go.
Dude, I want to go where you're going.
I'm ready.
It's a beautiful place. I can see it already.
Oh my God.
This is by far like the most exciting topic that we've had in our 49 weeks of doing this. This is like I feel inspired listening to us talk about it.
But it's like the idea, like you said, it starts with the imagination. And so that is like that we can even have the words to describe these things that we desire means that it is possible. And so what happens, I think, is that we get really hung up. Well, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. But sometimes my attention can get so focused on the things that are not like the thing that I want. And so then that is where the energy goes. And that's where my focus goes. And it just is a spiral from there. But really putting our attention, just each and every day, making that choice to put our attention into those things and creating those things that we want, not only individually, but in a community, but globally. Just think if just a few of us did that, just how that would shift every decision we made, every interaction, every purchase, every conversation would be towards that goal. And I know we talk about the summit as if it's some sort of lofty whatever out there. But, given the metaphor, like a 3D sort of vision, is like this vision of a world that just operates exactly what you described. I mean, I couldn't even say it any better than you described it, but we know that that's possible because that is the truth. Like, religious science, science of mind, the things that we talk about, these principles, when they outpicture in their purest form is exactly what you're describing. And so we know that it's true because we know that these principles are true. And so just allowing that to guide each interaction and just everything. I don't know. It is exciting because I know that it's possible.
Well, and you know what I'm realizing I didn't realize it just now, but I'm realizing it more and more as we talk about it. This idea that, and I think Chris, you might have said something about it last week, like this idea that this vision is like this far out there thing that almost seems unachievable. And yet when we talk about it, it's like, oh, this is totally achievable. This is so something that we're going to experience and do. And I'm just realizing more and more, it has always felt like this, like I'm waiting until something, then it will happen. Like once blah, 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 then this will happen. And when has that ever been the way anything has happened? Like never, right?
Never.
And I think we have to stop waiting and literally just start doing it. Like we don't have to wait for the governments to decide whatever in order so that all of these things happen, right? Like we just decide, oh, there are things we can start doing now that are different. And if we start opening businesses differently, if we start opening businesses that aren't dependent on being funded at the expense of the employees, all of a sudden things are being done differently. And now you have countless lives that are changed because we're doing this one thing differently. Now they get to do things differently.
Yeah.
And then our friends get to do things differently. And it's like, all of a sudden it just spreads out like wildfire in every direction from that one choice to do things differently. Like we literally get to create how this happens. We don't need to wait for anyone, but we're also not waiting for anyone else. We're just gonna, let's go do this. This is a really good idea. Let's do it different.
Well, and knowing that it's not always going to be perfect, but like if we wait for like the perfect time, the perfect scenario, the perfect whatever, we'll never do it. I mean, just like starting Soul Evolution Collaborative. I mean, we had this vision, and we tend to overthink things. I know that's shocking, but we are getting better. But and so if we wait until like the perfect scenario, the perfect time, and finally we're like, let's just do it. If we fall flat on our face a couple of times, all right, we'll learn from that. And so I think, and that's part of this stepping out. That's part of the stepping from old ways to new ways. And it's risky. Oh Lord, it's risky. It's risky and it's scary. And sometimes the footing is a little unstable, but
check.
Yes, we've done all of that stuff. But so that's the importance of community too, that we can do that collectively. We can, individually we can kind of sort through our own stuff, but also from a community sort of standpoint, and that it doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to do it. And
we can be super chill about it.
Super chill, because we are definitely
super chill about it. Super chill.
It's one last thing I got to squeeze in there too. In the very after the first segment, we were talking about how it's hard, like to talk about the individual without bleeding over into the communal part. I mean, it's the exact same. That metaphor applies directly to this. We can't be the individual without bleeding over into the communal, and the communal can't be an autonomous thing. It bleeds over. We can't, this new way of being like that is unsustainable, and that's what's gotten us to where we are. I'm grateful for where we've gotten, but moving forward, we have to realize it's all intertwined, and each piece pulls on that web, affecting everything. So it's impossible to separate.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff.
Well, thank you for eavesdropping on our conversation. It does feel like that sometimes. We have this conversation and people are listening. But
like, oh yeah, there are people.
Yes,
right.
Not only eavesdropping, but actually participating and supporting. We are so just blown away each and every day of the amazing support that we receive. Not only financial support, but just presence and consciousness and prayers and all those things that keep a ministry going and thriving. And so if you are like, I can't get enough of this conversation, I want more, which I feel like I want more.
I am, yeah.
Then please join us for Thursday. Thursday is the gathering. So this is opportunity, like Dan said before, for us to kind of be in conversation with one another in kind of a small group setting. Now, I know this may be a little intimidating if you're jumping into the conversation, but please, we are all super chill. On Thursday. It really is just a place to show up to be authentic and to be our true selves and to support one another. So I would encourage you, if you are so inclined to have a deeper conversation, to join us on Thursdays. And you can sign up for the gathering at soulevolutioncollaborative.org. Like I said, this ministry would not be possible without not only the support of your presence, but also financial support. And we are so blessed each and every day. So if this is something that costs you to support this ministry financially, we are always grateful. And you can do that once again at soulevolutioncollaborative.org, and you can click on the donate button. All donations are tax deductible and are held in the ultimate gratitude in which they were given. So let's see. Well, I think we're done for tonight.
I think we're done.
So we will see some of you on Thursday, hopefully a lot of you on Thursday. And for the rest of you, we'll see you next week.